So there was this lady whom some years back she went through so much, but God uplifted her. I was just thinking about her today and the life she encountered. So many times when people have been bereaved, especially widows, the promises that the relatives, especially the husband's relatives, normally give, they normally sound like they are promising them heaven, but in the end, they deliver hell to them instead. So this lady, she was, her husband had passed and she'd been left with 4 children. And the children were quite young and still quite dependent on their parents. So on the burial day, her in-laws were there standing and saying how they'll give her all moral support and ensure that the children will all go through school without any problems, and that they'll ensure that the legacy of their kin will not be forgotten, it will be continued. So this lady, she took it with a pinch of salt, because she had already heard all those stories about how people promise and then later on they don't fulfill their promise, or how at times widows are treated. These people come later on and they take all their stuff. So because of that, she did not really believe that this will come to pass. So on that day, her eldest brother-in-law, Sonny, was the first one starting, and we was like, our wife. Not the way the Nigerians normally say our in-law. This one they were saying our wife will be there. We'll make sure that you'll never lack. We'll make sure that our brothers' children will never lack. They will be educated to the highest level ever. We'll ensure that they get a good education to the highest level that they can go. So it is up to them to decide how far they'll want to go. Then her sister-in-law, Cecilia, most of the time wako wanasikilizana vile, they never used to get along so well. I mean, it always happens anyway. I've never known why sisters-in-laws are always chukiating each other. No wonder Franco wrote a song at 1,200 letters that he was written for by sisters-in-laws complaining about their sisters-in-laws. Okay, wives complaining about their sisters-in-laws, their husbands' sisters. So anyway, so even her, she stood there and promised how she'll be there, and then she'd look at the children and she's like, yeah, auntie will be there. Auntie will be there for you. Don't you dare worry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All will be well. We'll be there. And then their grandmother, Dani, also stood up. And she also played to support her daughter-in-law and her grandchildren and ensure that they'll never lack, that their life will be so smooth. So, during such times also, someone is normally a bit confused. You believe some of this stuff. But anyway, like this lady, she did not completely believe them because of the stories she had heard. So she was there with like 50% doubting. And she was right. She was really, really right to have thought about it that way, because hawa watu baadaye ile kumgeuka walimgeuka. Imagine wanarudi town. Hata hawajakaa for so long, they did not stay for long before these people came to the house and they were demanding for everything. Should have seen the people who had pretended to be so sad a few days earlier. This time they are the ones who are screaming the most. We want another one. I want the car. Another one. I want the house. You should vacate. Hmm? Another one. We want the title deeds of the property. Then these widows, like these things, most of them we bought together. Even me, my money, I put in my money. Everything is not for your brother or your son. And then they are like, no, 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 everything belongs to our brother. And we have got a right to take. It is our inheritance. That time they're talking about our inheritance and the children are there. They are brothers' children. So if they are saying their brother's stuff is their inheritance, how about the children? And then the widow was like, what about your brother's children, your nieces and nephews, my children? She was speaking to deaf people. And they could not listen. So they took everything from her, everything literally, and they left her in an empty house with the children. Here, this lady was just wondering, now where do I start from? She was, when her husband was working, she was an assistant teacher. This special school, that's where she was working as an assistant. So now these people came, they took everything from her, and they left her and the children with nothing in an empty house. They didn't want to know how they'll survive. And their cries fell on deaf ears. In fact, the children could not believe. One of the uncles who had been at least kind of a bit good, the children were so shocked that even him, they were like, Mom, even Uncle Don, this to us. And their mom didn't even know what to say because that was their favorite uncle. In fact, their mom was wondering if someone had bewitched him or what made him to do what he did, because her children loved him. He was their favorite uncle. Eh? And here now, Uncle Don hmm, had joined his siblings and his mom to rob his brother's children, and his brother's widow. So they went, and this widow, she just sat down with her children and they all cried together after that. She knew crying will not solve anything. Crying will not bring food to the table. Crying will not bring school fees. She had to do something. So the good thing is she was also very talented in artwork, artistic stuff. There are a few things she had been doing and just keeping aside. She had not displayed them, because she just used to do them as fun time, just passing time. But now when this stuff happened, it was a wake-up call. She had to do something, otherwise her children were going to sleep hungry. Anyway, about the house, it happened that the house was rental. Thanks goodness it was not their house. So when these people wanted to take, she called the housing agents, and the agents came and confirmed that it was a rental house. So actually her husband was planning, just before his demise, he was planning to buy a house, and the arrangements were quite advanced before the unfortunate situation came. And now that was a project that was never to be, as far as he was concerned, because now he was late. So this lady to call one of her friends, Brenda. Brenda came, And at least she had a shoulder to lean on. Brenda even brought them food because she had told her on the phone about what had transpired. So Brenda came and brought them something to eat. And then after that, now she asked them if she could go with them because now they had nowhere to sleep. Eh? They did not have any beddings. But this lady, this widow, she was not feeling like leaving the house. She was feeling like leaving the house. It would be too soon. I mean, like to get detached from her late husband. And anyway, one advantage they had is that before he died, they'd paid, they'd actually paid rent for 3 months. So 1 month was just going to be over and they had 2 other months. So when it comes to accommodation, okay, a house, they did not have such an issue, but now they did not have anything in the house. So anyway, her friend Brenda then, oh la la, now what have I done? I'm always doing this. I'm always missing this thing every time I do it. Now what have I done? Nimefanya kama nimeangalia wapi? Now I have to repeat. I have to start. Wadau, I have to start. Can you imagine? I have to start it all over again. Okay, it's okay, it's okay. Now, therefore, there's no condemnation for them who are in Christ Jesus. I have to start again. So, anyway, as I was saying, so Brenda went, brought them some mattresses and blankets and sheets. So they just tandicad on the floor in one room now, so that they could keep warm, each other warm nicely. And they slept. And then the following day, now they had to start thinking of what are we going to do. Yes, we have a house where we can stay, but we don't have any other thing. We don't have food. We don't have clothes. We don't have furniture. We don't have even utensils. I can imagine how mean those people were. They carried everything. Everything. Munacha tu mjane na watoto na bila chochote kwa nyumba. Imagine how people have become so selfish. Eh? People can be so selfish. But so, one thing that this widow had is that she was so artistic. So her friend Brenda the following day brought her some acrylic paints, canvas, brushes, everything she would need. Eh? And she started painting. I think sometimes when someone is so, maybe they are going through grief or stress or something like that, when they get something ya kujirusha ndani, yani something to occupy their mind, they can really do it. And she went into a painting spree. And for the next 1 week, she was not even sleeping. She was painting, doing one painting after another. She painted. She painted like she was going to display them for a UN competition, a UN sponsored competition. And she painted. By the end of the week, she had done like 8 or so canvas paintings of size A3. The A3 is big for people who have done art. A3 si pepa ndogo. The normal paper yenye huwa mnaona, the one you see for envelopes and for 200 is A4. A4 is the most common size paper. But A3 is bigger than A4. So you can imagine she had done a lot of paintings. So many of them. So her friend Brenda helped her to at least to go and pitch those ideas to some supermarkets. if they could promote her, Okay, this actually bookshops. There was this shop that deals with books, a very famous one. So she went, pitched her ideas, and they loved it. And you know what? They bought all her paintings. Then there are also some that she decided to put online, and people loved her work. eh? And she sold them very quickly, and before you knew it, she started making a name for herself in the art world. People started knowing her. People wanted to know who this person is, who has done these amazing paintings. So she continued like that. And then after a while, she was able to buy furniture, take her children back to school. She picked herself up, because for the sake of her children, she would ask herself, what would my husband have done? What would my Nick, what would he have done? He wouldn't have wanted his children not to go to school, you know. So that gave her that stamina to just work hard and continue working harder and harder. Yeah. And she continued doing her artwork, selling, and she became a big name. She would be invited to go and display her work in galleries. And then after a while now she was even doing it international. You know, when God opens a door, where else, Jesse? And another thing, never mistreat a widow. Never mistreat a widow, because you don't know what God has in store for her. After all, he says he's the husband to the widows. Eh? He has said it that himself. Alafu, you are there with your big head trying to mistreat her. Well, don't you dare. So anyway, yeah, so she did so well. And then those people mistreated her. Whatever they took from her, actually, they could not maintain those things. They lost everything. In the end, they ended up with nothing. Then, some years later, they are coming to her can you help us? Our children have dropped out of school. Oh, mom is so sick. She's still the grandmother of your children. And yet, when they were taking everything, that grandmother was there. She's even the one who was pointing out, take that TV, that I don't know what. Eh, lakini Mungu naye yuko. God never abandons the widows. He loves them. He always fights for them. He's always there for them. Yes, and that's my short story about this widow and what she went through. So just be encouraged in the Lord. When you can bless orphans and widows, please do it. There's a great reward from doing that. And that's what I've just made right now as we speak. Keep on subscribing, keep on visiting my YouTube channel so that I can show you many more beautiful stuff like this. Thank you.